now for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report. I'm Barbershop Jay. I'll be your host for the day. Here's what's happening. You know, I've asked this question over and over and over again quite some time ago about professional boxing. Is it a thing of the past? Is it dead? And for a while, it seemed like that was the case because the UFC was taking over. Now, I'm not a big UFC fan. I tried to watch it, can't get into it. But apparently for some, boxing is not dead. And I say that because, like many of you all on Facebook, you got these groups that you're in or these pages that you like, as do I. And one of the groups that I'm in is called Boxing Connected. And of course, when they post something, like with any other group that you like or, you know, that you follow or whatever, you know, it shows up, of course, in your timeline. So every now and again, these folks at Boxing Connected, you know, they post some pretty interesting stuff when it comes to boxing. Now, let me say this. I don't watch it like I used to because y'all know me. My premise is old school. I'm sorry. Some things are never better than their predecessors, okay? And don't dismiss history in any aspect, in any facet. Because if you don't know history, you'll be doomed to repeat it, right? Good or bad. That doesn't mean that I don't have an appreciation for technology or where we at in 2018. But nothing will supplant, no piece of technology will supplant the thing that created the technology. Get it? I keep a hard copy of everything I do. So when it comes to boxing, I've tried to watch a couple of fights. You know, I mean, I know who Triple G is, and I like Gervonta Tank Davis. You know, for a while I was liking Yuriorkis Gamboa. You know, but the quality of fighters, they're just not the same as they once were. Shucks. And more in particular, if you look at the time in between fights, so-called championship fights, my gosh, 3 or 4 years. Let's look at that Floyd Mayweather Manny Pacquiao fight that we should have saw 3 years later than what we should have seen it. Okay? Once upon a time, you could turn on local TV, Channel 5 or whatever the case may be, and Wild World of Sports. They used to have boxing on TV. What they would do is they would give the viewer a chance to follow a fighter, get to know a fighter before they start asking for pay-per-view money. Nowadays, you don't even know who these guys are half the time. You're sitting up there watching a program on the boob tube, as I like to call it, and all of a sudden you see this promotion. Yes, Takade, get ready for the main event. Johnny, I don't know who he is versus Michael, who cares? And I'll be like, what? $39.95, $69.95. I'm like, really? Y'all asking, y'all sound like the Cleveland Browns. After 0-16, talking about Browns fans, come renew your season tickets for the upcoming football season. Really? What y'all should be doing is asking folks if they need to, or do they want a refund? Okay? Going back to the Floyd Maypac fight or whatever. That fight was $99,000. And I'm sorry. As big a sports fan as I am, I'm going to continue to tell you, okay, I do not watch sports nowadays from an emotional standpoint, from a fandom standpoint. If you do, that's fine. Ain't nothing wrong with fandom. It's when it crosses the line. I'm an analyst. Okay? But I ain't even got to be that. I'm a human being on this earth. No matter what it is, I'm asking each and every last one of you all. Let's just keep it in layman's terms. When you buy a product, If that product is not what you paid for, you don't get what you paid for, you think, do you hold on to it? No. You can't wait to take it back. Matter of fact, don't be leaving the parking lot after you done bought it and that bag of chips and open it up while you're riding and say, oh, wait, whoa, this ain't, oh no, you turn right back around. So why should it be any different when it comes to investing in or putting your money on something? If it ain't worth it, it ain't worth it. That's bass awkward to me. That you all can't separate fact from fiction, I can. Not going to make apologies for it. So I see this thread, or in my thread every now and again from the Boxing Connected folks, I see this thing about Ali versus Tyson. You know, everybody, we all on this who's great and who's greater and who's greatest, who's the goat, who's the chicken, who's the fox, who's the cow. And it's so ad nauseum. I just want to hit some folk in their eye. Pow! Yeah. After which, of course, you would be saying, ow! So at the end of the day, I see this in my feed. I see this in my thread, in my timeline. And in particular, because it's come up more than once, it's this Ali versus Tyson, or was Ali, who's the greatest? Ali was the greatest, or is Tyson the greatest? And I say, hey, listen, after a while, after a few times actually of seeing it in my thread, I'm starting to, when I'm not on Facebook or I'm not watching TV, it's on my mind, this Ali Tyson thing. And it got me to the point where I'm cogitating and ruminating. That's pondering for all y'all out there who, you know, then grabbed your Googlets. I'm like, man, I'm giving this thing some thought. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Let me dive into this. Okay? Because to me, they were both great in their own right. First off, let me say that. But now, after I did some digging, I'm sitting here, I'm wondering, like, wait a minute, could there actually be a case made for Tyson being greater than Ali? I don't know. Now, we're going to dive into this boxing thing a little bit more as we go along. I had intended on having my own personal boxer extraordinaire. Some of you all might know him as Tariq. I call him Reek. And I don't call him a boxer extraordinaire just because I say so. I mean, the man got press clippings, okay? He was just derailed by an unfortunate car injury, and I'm just grateful that he's still here. But the man was on his way to doing whatever he was going to do, and he was going to get it done, okay? And he knows the folks in the boxing circle, on the professional level, amateur level, and all points in between. And I wanted to have him on the show today so we could really dive into this, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. But we will have him on for future broadcasts because we will be touching on this subject or broaching this subject again. But anyway, I got to doing some searching or some digging in this Ali thing. And, my method for, saying whether a guy is great, I'm reluctant without serious research to say a guy is great or a team is great or he's the greatest of, because I ask people first and foremost, what are we basing that on? If you're basing it on the opinion of something or someone else, then that's no basis. Okay? Now, I'm not going to get too biblical on y'all because I don't know the Bible, but truth is truth. And there's a story in the Bible about King Nebuchadnezzar and the three boys or whatever. And the moral of the story was, if you're going to stand, stand. If you're going to sit, sit, but do not waver. And when it comes to this sports talk thing, I do not waver. Why? Because I do research. Okay? So I ask, what are you basing it on? Because I need to know, if I understand first or up front what we're basing it on, then we can have the conversation from that point on. Okay? We're going to talk about this based off these 3 things or these 5 things. Now let's have a conversation. That's debate, where an intelligence is always on display. But it's when you say we're going to base it on these things, and then the other person, because they didn't do no research or because they watch too much ESPN, they want to start bringing in other variables. See, now it's never ending. So I say, let me look at this Tyson Ali thing and ask myself, what is it really, what can I base it on to say if Mike is actually, to make a case that Mike being greater than Ali? Well, first off, let me start with Ali. And I'm just going to give you a few tidbits of each one. Muhammad Ali, first off, fought in an era where death threats were real. Now, I don't know if he got any, but death threats were real. Meaning, we all know if you don't even have to be a boxing aficionado fan, you could just be just like it, just know it in general, and know that there was a time when, people like the mafia or whatever it is, guys threw fights because there was a lot of money in it, throwing a fight. So just imagine having to deal with the social issues that Ali had to deal with, and let's just say he did get a death threat. Hey, look here, you're going to go in there and you're going to take a dive. Otherwise, we're going to kill your family. So who goes into the ring and that's not weighing on them? So that is a variable. That's a factor to me that weighs in determining whether or not if you're great or the greatest of all time. It does. Who can deal with that? You in the ring, and then not to mention you going 15 rounds. Man, they used to go 15 rounds. Nowadays, these dudes on a pitch count. Oh man, he can only throw 34. And I get it, the money's now. You know what I'm saying? A guy, $75 million, on a 2-day contract. I get it. Now, I ain't mad at them. I'm just saying. Huh? You're cheating those who are watching it. You're asking me to pay $99. Did y'all think that Floyd Mayweather-Pacquiao fight was worth $99? Seriously? Who did not know going prior to that fight actually taking place that fight was going to be what it turned out to be eventually? The hype was greater than the fight, and y'all paid $99 for it. I was invited to come and watch that fight. Invited. And folk where I was invited was charging. And they said, but not for you, man. I ain't saying I'm all that and then some. But folks, there's some people out here who respect my sports knowledge, and I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? That's why, listen, I'm of the people, not above the people. If I need to be standing corrected it, I'll stand corrected it. But they said, man, no, you can come on through, man. You can come out and say, you know what, man, I would not. Matter of fact, I'm going to pay you $10 to give to somebody else who's going to waste their $10. I'm not coming to see that, with all due respect. I knew what that was going to be. Huh? If you're paying attention to the TV, you can see. I knew what that was going to be. These dudes was fighting 15 rounds, man, with 2-ounce gloves. Did you also know that Muhammad Ali is the only 3-time lineal heavyweight champion? The only. Now, I'm not going to give y'all the definition of lineal. I'm not right now. You're going to have to, I can't do everything for you now. Come on now. Help me to help you. And in turn, you help me so I can help myself. Ali's records for beating 21 boxers for the world heavyweight title, shared by only with Joe Louis, and winning 14 unified title bouts, were unbeaten for 35 years. Now let that sink in or marinate. Unbeaten for 35 years. See, so that lends itself to this issue I have in the modern day sports era, regardless of the sport, where they talk about some, these meaningless stats. Well, he was the first guy since the last guy who did it before because he didn't tie his shoe because he put his coat on first. What? I know this is not boxing related, but right now we're looking at the New Orleans Pelicans smashing the Portland Trailblazers, and the Trailblazers and the Bucks, Milwaukee Bucks, were my 2 preseason favorites going in. But let me tell you why the Pelicans are winning. Because they're doing those things that don't show up in a stat sheet. Everybody's so prisoner of the moment. Them microwave mashed potatoes versus the ones that grandma make. I done told y'all. You can try to reheat them, them microwave ones, and they don't taste good. Prisoners of the moment. Meaningless stats. See, y'all look at the averages, what show up in the stat sheet, but it's those things that don't show up in the stat sheet that weigh more. They do. And if they don't weigh more for you, that's fine. But don't give them any credence or credibility at all. That's asinine. I'm not going to give y'all the definition of that one either. Look it up. And then there was this fantasy fight against Rocky Marciano. And it reads, let me read this to you all. While banned from sanctioned bouts, Ali settled a $1 million lawsuit against radio producer Murray Warner, Woroner. Wow, say that fast one time. By accepting $10,000 to appear in a privately staged fantasy fight against retired champion Rocky Marciano. In 1969, the boxers were filmed sparring for about 75, 1-minute rounds. They acted out several different endings. A computer program purportedly determined the winner based on data about the fighters. Edited versions of the bout were shown in movie theaters in 1970. In the U.S. version, Ali lost in a simulated 13th round knockout. But in the European version, Marciano lost due to cuts, also simulated. Ali jokingly suggested that prejudice actually determined his defeat in the U.S. version. He was reported to say that computer was made in Alabama. I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, that's just a couple tidbits, Ali. You know, if you're a boxing fan, just again, in general, you already know, Ali's greatness and, him saying to be the GOAT or whatever it is. But I'm just saying, again, the moral of all of this is, what are we basing it on? What variables are we using to determine if a guy, player, fighter, whatever, is great? And then we have to pay closer attention to those variables, and we're going to determine or say that this guy is the greatest of all time. That is just, that's mind-boggling to me. That people so loosely throw the term or the word great and then, throw the word great and then the term greatest of all time out there like, oh yeah, he was the greatest of all time. Okay, again, why? Well, because Colin Cowherd, stop, go in the corner. Hold on, I need a 20. Give me a timeout right here. This fool done got his shoes on the wrong feet. He talking crazy. He got to. You can't just pull up something out of thin air or grab something somebody else said, because here's the thing. You ever heard the expression, consider the source? See, journalism nowadays, or reporting nowadays, unlike yesterday's, is such that it's not about whether it's true or not. It's about who can do it first. Listen, when I took journalism classes, and I graduated, yes, I did, from Ohio University, I stayed true to the premise, and my foundation is such that the first journalism professor that I had said, listen here, we do not, and we will not substitute real reality with television reality. See what I'm saying? And that's what all you microwave mashed potatoes folks is out here doing. That's why I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing in the way I'm doing it. My bad. Because y'all know I ain't lying. Listen here. Go get them microwave mashed potatoes. Now, they might taste all right the first time when you heat them up. But like I said, go try to reheat them. They're going right in that trash. Now, on the flip side, them ones grandma made, where she had to go to the store and buy the potatoes and get the onions and the salt and the pepper and the paprika, whatever it is she put in them. You get your fill the same day she make them, and she put that pot right in the refrigerator. Or should I say the Frigidaire? And guess what? You're going to eat on them mashed potatoes every time you go in that refrigerator. You say, oh, I'm going to get some of them mashed, because you just came, you salivating at what they're going to taste like, because it's organic, because it's made out from love. You know what I'm saying? You had to really put something in it. You had to roll your sleeves up and get down with that. Y'all need to get up off of this, hurry up and get it right quick. Don't matter if it's true or not. Don't work. So yes, is Ali a great? No doubt. And I didn't even see all of his fights. I came at the tail end. But greatest of all time? Now, I don't dispute that. And when I say it that way, I'm not questioning it. What I'm saying is, in general, I haven't lived long enough to say greatest of all time. If a sport has been around for 125 years, how do you fix your mouth to say this guy or that guy's the greatest of all time, and you only been around for 30 years? And then on top of that, you're not doing no research. You're just going off the cuff. There's no legitimacy to that. There's no concrete foundation to that. What premise are you standing on with all this waverability? Now let's go to Mike Tyson. And here is why I say, and I'm not trying to, but I just say that a case could be made, possibly, if folks want to sit down and really dive into this thing. My boxer extraordinaire, who, again, is not here today, he and I were talking the other day because I had mentioned to him, I said, man, I've been seeing this Ali Tyson greatest thing. I said, man, I'm throwing up my thread. He brought up an excellent point. And he, too, is not saying one is or over the other or one ain't. So he was just making a point. He said, man, what made Tyson so sweet, Cus D'Amato, the infamous Cus D'Amato, we all know his trainer, okay, who passed away. Of course, when Tyson was younger, came up with this number system. Now, I knew about the number system, but vaguely. But Reek, he say, man, listen. He say, think about this. He say, if you got two fighters in the ring, and both fighters' corners are yelling at them to throw a punch, throw the jab, throw the uppercut, throw the hook, whatever the case may be. He said, well, guess what? He said, if one fighter's corner is telling his fighter, their fighter what to do, the other fighter can hear it too. Okay, so just picture the scenario. You and I, we in the ring, okay, and we going at it. And your corner tell you, throw the jab, Mikey, throw the jab. And I hear it, and I say, bam, and I beat you to the punch with it. Guess what? See what I'm saying? There's no advantage. But with a point system, yeah, it is. Cus came up with a point system. So in other words, a right hook, and I don't know this to be exact, I'm just, giving you some idea. A right hook was a 6. A left hook was a 5. A jab was a 1. And an uppercut was a 2. I don't know. So when Mike being, and this, see, people say, oh, Mike, they looked at the manifest, the surface, and saw Mike was strong, big, came in with black shorts and black shoes and a little towel over him or whatever it is. He knocking people out. They like, man, Mike knocking people out. But there was a method to the man. There was a science behind it. That's why they call boxing the sweet science, which is why I don't get in the UFC. No offense to thee, but I can't get in the UFC. The fight game today, for the most part, has lost its way when it comes to the sweet science. Ain't no more Emmanuel Stewarts and Cus D'Amatos and Kevin Rooney's, Buddy McGirts. The sweet science, man. Cus came up with a system. Since we all will talk about systems, this is a real system. He said, Mike, listen here. In this corner, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bam. Down goes another one. Mike was dropping dudes, man, because Cus came up with a system. Who doing that now? Canelo. No, what I had done was I had went to GNC and see what had happened was, man, miss me. Juicing. I should be a fan of Manny Pacquiao's a long time ago when that fight was supposed to happen between him and Floyd at Jerry's World. I used to say, man, Manny's punches were incongruent. And I'm not giving you the definition of that one either. Look it up. I'll tell you just slightly. They just came from angles that you just was head scratchers. I said, man, that dude is almost like a little Bruce Lee, man. His punches come from, he can knock you out from everywhere. Then it came out that he was juicing. Well, I had talked to Sean Porter one time, and I asked him this question. That's right, Showtime Sean Porter. Yep, right here from Cleveland. If you all want to check my references, ask him, do he know Barbershop J? I said, Sean, I said, man, if you in the ring with a dude, man, and you find out he was juicing, he said, hey, man, he said, I'm not happy. I'm not happy about that. He said, because I know the work I put in. I don't do that. And I know how this grind is. So, yeah. And boxing is one of them sports, man, where, it's like PBR, professional bull riding. Man. I mean, you got to take out one heck of an insurance policy, okay? Yeah. That point system, man. And then when Cuss died, Kevin Rooney, who was in the camp with Cuss and Mike, as well as Teddy Atlas, who was fired for whatever reason, Kevin Rooney took over and he maintained the point system. But herein lies the problem. When Don King fired Kevin Rooney, that was the beginning of the end for Mike Tyson. Because my boxer extraordinaire also said Mike was like a robot, though. See what I'm saying? Whereas Ali, it was more organic. You see what I'm saying? It was more natural. So I don't know. Y'all tell me. But I'll say this too about Mike Tyson. In addition to the point system, he holds the record as the youngest boxer to win a heavyweight title at 20 years old. He became the first heavyweight boxer to simultaneously hold the WBA, WBC, and IBF titles, and the only heavyweight to successively unify them. Now let that marinate. See, y'all don't know your history. See what I'm saying? See, y'all victim to that prisoner of the moment. Okay? You turn that tube on and then you run to the water cooler or you run to the debate arena with that garbage. Or as I like to say, gabbage. See what I mean? Everybody want to talk Mike Tyson, but who know that? I don't hear nobody saying that. And then lastly, which I thought was more interesting, or not more interesting, but what I thought was rather interesting, after his parole from prison, because we all know with the prison, I'm not going to go into that. You know what I mean? We all human, man. Stuff happens. After his parole, Tyson's first comeback fight grossed more than $96 million worldwide, setting both pay-per-view viewership and revenue records. Now, I don't know what that Floyd Maypack fight did, but my goodness. Okay? Setting records, man? Pay-per-views like that? And guess what? Half of Mike Tyson's fights, or when he set these pay-per-view records or whatever it is, they probably lasted 25 seconds. Well, them was the best. Them 25 seconds it took for him to knock you out had more of an impact than the 1,700 rounds that Floyd and Manny went, and which really was an overpriced sparring match is what I'd like to say. So at the end of the day, I used this Ali Tyson thing just to make a point or to further drive home the point. When you're having these debates and discussions, the first thing that must be established is the basis. What are we basing it on? And then go from there and stay within the parameters for which the basis has been set. And on that note, it's been fun, but we got to run. Appreciate y'all for listening. Don't forget to check us out right here on Spreaker.com, the Shop Report, this podcast that is, for the latest shop episode. And please give us a follow when you get there, all right? In the meantime, check us out on Facebook, iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, or email us, the shopreport365@gmail.com. And if that don't work, Google it. I'm Barbershop J. And remember, the next time y'all want to know what's really going on, man, come to the shop. Walk-ins are always welcome. Holla.